October 2024 looks intense, pressure-filled, and pivotal as we get the final solar eclipse in Libra, a difficult cardinal T-square, and a healing full moon in Aries. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer working in whole sign house system and tropical zodiac, and I primarily specialize in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy my content, please take a few seconds of your time to show your support by leaving a like, a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. Watch another one of my videos or say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant. Everything you do, even if it feels little, really helps. It promotes my content, helps more people find it, brings more attention, and sort of encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you for that. Before we dive in, if you're looking for a one-on-one consultation, you're looking for that personal touch and want me to answer questions that these general readings cannot answer, you have questions about your relationship, your year coming up, or just want to know what these transits mean for you specifically, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On my website, you can also find the magical 2025 planner. Look how pretty it is. I just saw it today for the first time, and I'm very happy with it. I had a glitch during the Mercury retrograde when it came and it was like pale blue, and that's not what I wanted. This planner is full of astrological guidance. There are journaling prompts, there are important transits, full moon, new moon pages, best dates to get married, insights about astrology, something that can be very useful for everyone. Highly recommend. Pick it up on my website. On my website, you can also find a variety of candles and oils I create. For example, this is a moon in Cancer 2, very soothing, a really great match for the eclipse season and for more general energy, as well as for those born with their moon in Capricorn and Scorpio, which are the signs of fall and detriment, moon in the 6th house, 8th or 12th, and if your moon is conjunct, square, opposite Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, even Mars. So let's talk about October. October sees planets separating more and more, right? Right now we have Jupiter in Gemini. In October we have Jupiter in Gemini, Mars in Cancer all months. We have planets still moving through Libra, entering Scorpio and entering Sagittarius. And the full moon is in Aries. So it's 6 zodiac signs, and then if you add Pisces energy, we have like a pretty broad spread of energy and our attention most likely too, which suggests that we may notice that we are being pulled in a variety of directions, which is actually quite a Jupiter in Gemini signature, because Jupiter in Gemini tends to come and expand our attention and sort of break our focus into a multitude of directions. So highly recommend that you try to ground yourself, that you lean into your spiritual rituals and take good care of yourself this month. And let's go chronologically, right? Why not? Because we are, the way this video works is I break down all of the transits first, and then I break down the most important ones for each zodiac sign. And so if you ever feel like you want more detail, you want something that's more personalized, you can always pick up a horoscope subscription on my website, which is very much unique to your natal chart. I overlay transits over your chart, and then I send you a written report that I write, and it's not just like computer generated, that relates to you. Anyway, so the month starts off with a solar eclipse in Libra. This eclipse happens at 10 degrees 3 minutes Libra, and it occurs on October 2nd. It's a big deal. It is a final eclipse in Libra. In July 2023, North and South Node entered Aries and Libra, and since April 2023, actually it started a bit earlier, we've been having eclipses in Aries and Libra. And so collectively we've been going through this period of shifting from maybe people pleasing, shifting from caring too much what other people think, which is people pleasing, but like maybe being too focused on relationships, too focused on the image or the shallow things, and finding more of an independence, focusing on our internal desires and becoming more clear and maybe even more courageous to follow our goals. So this eclipse on October 2nd is your chance to complete the chapter, the relationship chapter that started in October 2023 when we had the first solar eclipse in Libra. And then in March, April, we had the lunar eclipse in Libra. So take a look at your relationships, at your relationship to your style, to your beauty, at your appreciation of things in your relationships, even your sort of creative aesthetic. How has that changed? This eclipse makes a couple of difficult aspects. It squares Mars. Well, mainly it squares Mars, but it also conjoins Mercury. Conjunction to Mercury can actually be helpful in terms of having important conversations. The square to Mars, however, might introduce a bit of tension and a need to discuss it. That's why I think the conjunction with Mercury is helpful. The ruler of the eclipse is Venus in Scorpio. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, which suggests that this eclipse, it might have a bit of a difficult energy, but it's still about new beginnings. I think what we're looking at here is we're looking at relationships, agreements, partnerships, and with the ruler being Venus in Scorpio, we're asking which ones of them are truthful versus which ones of them are shallow, which ones have long-term potential, which ones don't, and we're having to potentially release certain relationship tendencies, release relationships, or introduce better boundaries in relationships. And maybe we're having to address discomfort, right? Like the square to Mars in Cancer to me reads as something doesn't feel right. Cancer is an emotional sign, so is Venus in Scorpio. If something doesn't feel right, you're very much forced to introduce new beginnings into your relationships, but they might be almost sort of forced upon you. What is lovely that shortly after, on October 4th, Venus trines Saturn, and then on October 8th, Venus trines Mars. So even though it's an eclipse that represents an energy of cleansing and rethinking relationships, there is a very serious, patient energy with Venus trining Saturn on October 4th. You're focused on commitment, you're focused on mastery, you're willing to work on things. And then October 8th, you have that charm of the Venus-Mars trine. You are passionate, but I feel like non-threatening. So the eclipse can be tense because that's what eclipses are in general. They're hard to predict because they're just karmic points, karmic turning points. But with Venus, the ruler of the eclipse, being supported by that, being sort of in the grand water trine, trining Saturn, trining Mars, you very much have the support of those two planets. Your energy is aligned with your desires, is aligned with your ability to persevere and commit. October 6th, Mercury squares Mars between Libra and Cancer. This could suggest that you're feeling touchy, you're feeling irritable, you're trying to navigate. And this is, I think it's still sort of a fallout from the eclipse because the eclipse had the same energy, right? So Mercury in Libra tries to be a diplomat, tries to make sure everybody gets along, make sure nobody gets hurt. And Mars in Cancer is this mama bear, passionate energy that is clashing with it, right? Like Mars in Cancer can be very personal. And so there might be tension between you trying to be objective and someone in your life being really like subjective, or you being touchy and irritable and someone else trying to be objective. So you may find yourself in heated debates, in conflicts. Maybe you have to defend your ideas. So try to remember to breathe and watch out from, like, be careful getting involved in like physical fights, right? A little debate is okay, but going too far, you don't want to go too far. October 8th, besides Venus trine Mars, which is very passionate and romantic, we also have Mercury trine Jupiter, which could bring good news and potentially an uplifting moment. You've had a conflict, you've had a disagreement on October 6th, and then October 8th brings like a moment of peace, understanding and maybe coming closer or figuring things out. On October 9th, Jupiter goes retrograde. Jupiter will be retrograde until February 4th, 2025. This mostly suggests a review in the Gemini sector of your chart. It might suggest that you've been going towards something ever since Jupiter went into Gemini, which would have been May 25th. You may have noticed some kind of forward momentum in the Gemini sector of your chart. However, Jupiter going retrograde might suggest that you've overdone it. You've overextended yourself, you've overexpanded, spread yourself too thin, and something you need to back up, you need to rethink, you need to refocus. You may also notice feeling a little bit more introspective, maybe feeling a little less optimistic, and so Jupiter retrograde will encourage you to go within and to figure out what is it that makes you happy, what is it that makes you excited. On October 11th, Pluto goes direct, which is a sign of sort of completing a cycle of inner transformations. If you've been grappling with the questions of power and control in your life and your relationships, Pluto going direct might offer you a chance to implement the things that you've discovered. And also it's the final goodbye to Capricorn, right? Like Pluto on October 11th is starting to make its way out of Capricorn forever. So I think it's also a chance to look at that Capricorn sector, to look at your boundaries and power dynamics and ask yourself what gives you power, right? Like how can you find your power? Sometimes we are in difficult situations in life, but it doesn't mean that we have no control over things. There's always some things we can control. Ultimately in life, there are very few, but we can control ourselves, we can control what we eat, we can control what we ingest. So I think Pluto going direct will offer you those opportunities for empowerment, even if they are tiny, but still good. October 13th, Mercury squares Pluto. So another opportunity for a passionate conversation, secrets coming to light, some kind of a chance to examine your thoughts. Examine where you're being too shallow, where you're being too people-pleasing, what needs to be released. Immediately on October 13th, right after that, Mercury enters Scorpio. Will stay here until November 2nd. And so it's interesting that there is that square to Pluto that precedes, I think you can say precedes, that happens right before Mercury enters Scorpio, because that suggests some type of like a crisis, right? And then Mercury goes into a new sign and you have the intuition, the emotional depth, the ability to research and dive in and investigate that helps you break through and maybe figure out a new way of dealing with things. Or also like Scorpio is very much a sign of death and rebirth. So I think that need to rethink your beliefs very much continues, and potentially, like new insights, priority of depth and truth and vulnerability over shallow sort of chit chat and making sure everybody likes you, which Mercury in Libra might struggle with, right? Like wanting to be liked. So Mercury in Scorpio on October 13th is a different vibe. On October 13th, we also have the Sun trining Jupiter, which is a lucky, uplifting, optimistic transit. So I think the day starts off a bit intense with Mercury square Pluto, and then Mercury changes signs, Sun trines Jupiter, and you may once again sort of see opportunities for empowerment and growth and transformation in the experience you have just been through. October 14th, the Sun squares Mars. So on October 6th, we had Mercury square Mars, and October 14th might bring back some of that, right? So if October 6th made you feel touchy, if it made you feel irritable, if it pushed your emotions against your mind, the Sun squaring Mars will bring a repeat of that. And of course, as always, encourage you to act differently and maybe figure out healthy ways of directing energy. The Sun is like our power source, right? So if it's not managed well around this time, you might be directing a lot of your energy towards fighting and you know, battling it out with other people. But if you are more attentive, you can very much direct some energy into passion projects like Sun square Mars, right? Like Sun in Libra is, let's get involved with the community, and Mars in Cancer is like, but I want to protect my children. And so like the two, when they square, the two might contradict, right? But if you focus on protecting children in the community, haha, then there's a way to unite the two. Exercise, sex, hard work are all ways of dealing with this energy. Around the same time, Venus also opposes Uranus, which is a sign of breakthroughs, breakdowns, surprises, opportunities to innovate and change relationships. So that is bound to be interesting. I like that on the 15th of October, Venus trines Neptune, and then on the 17th, she sextiles Pluto. So you do deal with some kind of shakeup in your relationship, but then immediately after, you have the empathy that Venus trine Neptune provides, you have the intuition once again, you have the depth, you have the ability to see below the surface and accept or move on and transform things, but you feel pretty happy about it. October 17th, the full moon in 24 degrees Aries will affect people with planets between 21 and 27 degrees cardinal signs: Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, Libra. This brings a culmination and change of the cycle that got started with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So it's not an eclipse, but it continues the themes of the eclipse. And then we're going to get another eclipse in Aries. So this full moon is crucial. But like, you know, it represents a point of, well, it's interesting, right? Because like the entire month of October, we have Mercury and the Sun in Libra squaring Mars in Cancer and squaring Pluto in Capricorn. So there is this intense T-square between our mind, our feelings, and our duties and obligations. And then the full moon comes in Aries on October 17th, and Aries is a missing piece of the Grand Cross that the T-square is a part of. So Aries provides an answer. Aries encourages you to, on some level, be a little bit selfish at this time. If you've been caught in the maze of trying to please other people and get along with others and figure things out, the full moon in Aries says, but what is it that you want? How can you express what you want? How can you assert yourself? How can you go for things that you desire without sacrificing anything? So it's an interesting kind of pivotal point in the month, I think, this full moon, because the full moon also conjoins Chiron, and it activates that Pluto Mars Sun T-square, suggesting that like the way out may require looking at yourself in the mirror and asking, how are you contributing to things, and what can you do differently? How can you treat yourself better and maybe achieve better balance in relationships? Venus enters Sagittarius on October 17th. Will stay here until November 11th. Venus in Sagittarius is optimistic. She's adventurous in love and creativity. You may notice that your art gets more influenced by other cultures, that romantically you want to date people who are foreign, speak a different language, can teach you something, can go on adventures with you. You kind of crave a partner that can teach you things with this placement. October 22nd, Mercury trines Saturn, which focuses your mind, helps you file paperwork, work on projects that require a lot of attention to detail. The Sun squares Pluto, which is a repeat or similar energy to October 13th when Mercury squared Pluto, which suggests some kind of power struggles, intense experiences. It's like the theme of the month, I think. Power struggles, intense experiences, followed by the need to transform something. And of course, immediately after the square to Pluto, the Sun enters Scorpio and will be in Scorpio between October 22nd and November 21st. So something is reaching a crisis point. Something in the Libra season. We just had a solar eclipse in Libra. We have Libra Mercury, Libra Sun squaring Mars, squaring Pluto. Some kind of, you know, something in your life where you're prioritizing others, where you're too focused on relationships, where you're trying to manage a lot of different things and you're lacking balance, is getting more sort of highlighted. And so this square to Pluto from Mercury on the 13th of October and from the Sun on the 22nd of October are very much like the bell ringing, and it's your opportunity to address any power struggles, address any imbalances, and find ways to be more aligned and more balanced in your life. October 24th, Mars sextiles Uranus, which is the time when you're more willing to break away from the norm. You want fun, you want adventures. Romantically, you can benefit from being more open-minded, right? Willing to experiment in the bedroom, willing to date people you normally wouldn't date. And maybe even if you are not happy in a relationship and you actually want to break away from it, there might be an opportunity to do that too. October 28th, Mars trines Neptune, which is a very inspired, I like this, for creative work, for filming, for painting, for dancing, very sort of artistic transit. Could be very empathetic, sensual, connected, romantic transit as well, and a great time to lean into spiritual pursuits, to volunteer, to do sort of altruistic type of work. Same day, August, like what month is it? October 28th, Venus squares Saturn, which might suggest relationship pressures and tests. Basically, your desire to adventure is at odds with the realities of life. You have to balance some things. You have to maybe say goodbye to something, say no to something, set better boundaries in your life, and be ready to commit or compromise. And on October 30th, Mercury opposes Uranus, bringing exciting insights, breakthroughs, and possibly breakdowns of technology, but also breakdowns of old beliefs and introduction of the new ones. So this is the breakdown of the month ahead. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading on my website or pick up a horoscope subscription to receive monthly emails at the start of every month. They're sent by October 2nd, and in them I look at your chart and I describe what's coming up for you. You can get that on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are an Aries rising, September brought a lot of focus to your houses of health and work. Maybe you've worked more or took care of your well-being. Your house of relationships with Libra planets, as well as the topics of home and work as Mars entered your 4th and Pluto returns to your 10th. There could have been deeper questions around a sense of belonging, comfort, peace, what makes you feel secure. And part of it could have been related to your career or just separate, just sort of wondering what makes you feel happy and at ease. We also had the lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th, which could have enlightened you about your self-defeating habits, encouraged you to let something go, or bring something hidden within you to the surface, right? Like this made you discover a passion that you haven't acknowledged, or encouraged you to let go of drinking for a year because you decided to focus on your health. In September, Mars spends the entire month, in October, this thing, I didn't change that, it says October. In October, Mars spends the entire month in Cancer, your 4th house, so the action in the sector of home and family continues, and there might be some tensions there, especially around October 6th and 14th as planets in Libra square your 4th house Mars. Between October 9th and on October 9th, Jupiter stations retrograde in Gemini, your 3rd house. It will be retrograde until February 4th. And that might suggest that you are having to, if you've been, with Jupiter in Gemini since May 25th, if you've been learning new things, speaking, blogging, working on your business, dealing with some kind of like getting more involved with your community. Some of that may need to be pulled back, dialed back, right? You may notice that some of these pursuits feel exhausting, maybe not as fulfilling as you hope they will be. And so you will need to rethink your goals, your philosophy, and your schedule and what you're spending time on. You may also notice that you have to go over some stuff that you studied, maybe retake some exams, rethink some, you know, like some protocols potentially. So in October, there's also a lot of focus. The focus on relationships and partnerships continues, and the biggest event of the month is the solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, which is a sign of major new beginnings in relationships. It is a South Node eclipse, and South Node always has the energy of emptying, cleansing. So I think on a spiritual level, you're maybe letting something go. You're maybe opening yourself up to dating people who are not your type, maybe opening yourself up to types of relationships you wouldn't normally go for, like a long distance relationship potentially. You're maybe letting go of a toxic relationship so that you can have more ability to attract someone who is right for you. It is new beginnings, but it's like a spiritual reorientation, right? It's a sense of adjustment in terms of what you thought was important for you romantically, or even in terms of your business, or in terms of your partnership with your nanny or your gardener or whatever, like to something that is more like healthy and balanced. What's interesting is the Sun and Mercury in Libra in October square both Mars in your 4th house and Pluto in your 10th house. So these questions that you've started asking yourself in September about your place of living and about your career, they continue to be very prominent, and I think they affect your relationship life as well. Because let's say you are in a place where you're no longer happy with what you do for a living, and maybe that means you're no longer happy with where you live, which of course will affect your relationship. And then what I like and what sort of makes a lot of sense is that in the middle of the month on October 17th, we get a full moon in Aries, which is your opportunity to speak up and heal something within yourself and act out of your personal interest, because chances are you kind of have to, right? Like with the full moon in Aries, it's a completion and culmination of the cycle that got started with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So take a look back at what was happening in your life. What were you thinking about? What were you doing with your health? What were you planning on starting? Any personal projects? Because the full moon on October 17th can definitely represent a project coming full circle, a health issue wrapping up potentially. But also I think very much if you are struggling with these decisions and thoughts about relationships, career, and your home life, the full moon in Aries is an opportunity to get in touch with yourself and to get more clear on what is it that you want. And the fact that there is that conjunction with Chiron, it's also about like healing and believing in yourself and like celebrating yourself, I think, on many levels. There is a lot of action in your 8th house. Venus enters Scorpio on October 17th. Actually, rather, Venus is here until October 17th. Mercury enters on October 13th. The Sun does on the 22nd. And there's a lovely grand water trine between Venus, Mars, and Saturn, your 8th, 4th, and 12th houses. And so, similarly, I think there are big opportunities for healing. There are possibly some sort of changes in the financial sector of your chart. Maybe you're thinking of buying a home, maybe investing into a property, updating your, like doing some kind of home improvement project, or even getting more interested in like, you know, topics that are mysterious, like astrology, tarot, you may be exploring interests like that and finding comfort in those, right? Like if things feel a little bit up in the air and you're a cardinal sign and there's a lot of action this month in cardinal signs, so you may feel a little bit aggravated. So I think with Venus and Scorpio until October 17th, there is this opportunity for you to calm yourself down by adding some type of like spiritual practice into your life and sort of tending to the parts of yourself that you can. Maybe for some of you, maybe it's about starting a joint bank account with your significant other, or starting some kind of IRA or some type of like financial fund, a fund that makes you feel secure, because the question of security, I think, is important this month. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius. She will stay here until November 11th, and you may feel driven to adventure, to travel, to learn a foreign language, or date a foreign person. If you are traveling, you are more likely to meet someone while traveling and maybe start romance, or sort of date a teacher, date a foreigner, and even just be more like sort of excited about learning new things that involve romance, but also things that are pleasant and joyful to you. Please share how this resonates. What was September like? If you're looking for a personal consultation, book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Pick up my 2025 planner, this beautiful creation on there, or get a horoscope subscription to get insights about the month ahead sent to you at the start of every month. If you are a lovely Taurus rising, September brought a lot of focus to your sector of romance, pleasure, and children as you connected with kids, maybe gave birth, maybe explored sort of new relationship. There's also been a lot of focus on your work life with planets in Libra, your 6th house, maybe some health topics you needed to address. You may have been learning new skills with Mars and Cancer, your 3rd house, communicating, writing, blogging. Maybe your mind was like full of ideas, and ideas that involved family or involved children. You know, some kind of like passionate communication about issues close to heart could have been happening in September, as well as Pluto returning to Capricorn, your 9th house, made you question your place of living, encouraged you to revise your beliefs, maybe deal with some travel topics. And of course, we had the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 11th house, which could have brought a sense of change in your community, changes in your friendships, changes around the way you see yourself in the world and your place in the world, right? Like it could have encouraged you to release a project, or perhaps double down on a project and on a relationship with your community. In October, Mars stays in Cancer, your 3rd house, all month. So this is beautiful in terms of taking action and exploring new ideas, but it could be a bit tricky because Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so you may notice being a little bit more passive aggressive, uneven energy levels, so try to be mindful of that. Maybe like, you know, feeling a little bit more irritated by siblings or neighbors or people around you, so try to speak up as the frustration builds. Try to be patient and not just let it all accumulate and then you explode. You don't want that to happen. Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 2nd house, on October 9th, and until February 4th, 2025, you will be either dealing with some kind of change financially. Sometimes Jupiter retrograde in the house of money represents a shift in terms of what you're spending on. Even a shift in your income is possible, but it can also be a very spiritual transit where you are asking yourself, what is it that you truly value and what is it you're truly trying to create in the world? And I think that is appropriate with the fact that we just had an eclipse in your 11th house, and you've been already kind of, maybe you have been asking yourself about your role in the community and your place in the world. So Jupiter retrograde in the 2nd house is both about money, but also about priorities. The entire month, there is lots of focus in your house of work, health, and service. Mercury is here, the sun is here until October 22nd. On October 2nd, we get the final solar eclipse in Libra, which is a sign of big new beginnings. But it's interesting because it's a south node eclipse. So the new beginnings with the south node include an element of spirituality. There's a spiritual focus. There is a sense of maybe letting something go. When the south node transits your sixth house, as it has been since July 2023, you realize that you want to work smarter, not harder. You want to rest more. You want to do work that is more spiritual and soulful. And so this eclipse on October 2nd is a chance to take action in that direction. The entire month, however, we have squares between Mercury and Mercury and the Sun in Libra, and Mars in Cancer, and Pluto in Capricorn, which creates a sense of tension between your house of work, health, service, your house of communication, everyday life, and what's on your schedule and on your agenda, and your kind of bigger plan and mission, right? So there's a little bit of maybe tension between what you are able to accomplish and the logistical steps you still need to take. And on October 17th, the full moon in Aries comes in your 12th house, and it highlights your need to be a little bit more connected with yourself. The full moon in Aries in the midst of the eclipse, I mean, it's past the eclipse season, but in the midst of these like tense aspects between Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn, suggests the need to be like a little bit more independent, a little bit more brave, I think, too, because sometimes with Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn all speaking together at once, there might be a contradictory energy between trying to please other people and feeling emotional and feeling sort of responsible to other people. And so the full moon in Aries in your 12th house asks you, what is it that you want? I think it calls you out on the tendency to be maybe a little bit indecisive or tendency to doubt yourself. The full moon in the 12th house will encourage you to let go of some self-defeating habits, bad habits, unhealthy patterns where you're being, once again, either indecisive or relying on other people, whatever it might be for you. And it might also encourage you to lean into spiritual passions, to commit to a plan to relocate somewhere, to bring to your consciousness matters that are maybe a little bit hidden, a little bit unaddressed. There's also a very strong healing energy with this full moon because it conjoins Chiron, and an opportunity to complete a chapter involving travel, involving spirituality, mental health, healing. Maybe you're healing something. Chapter that got started on April 8th when we had the solar eclipse in Aries. Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury joins, and so does the Sun later in the month, highlighting your 7th house of relationships and partnerships. It's a sign that you are very relationship oriented this month as well, and I like that Venus trines Mars in your 3rd house. So for singles, there may be opportunities to meet someone in the neighborhood, meet someone through a sibling, maybe even start a business partnership. And there's also a trine to Saturn in the 11th from Venus in the 7th, which allows you to gain the support of people you want to approve of you or show up as a figure of authority. Basically, there's like a good flow between the houses of relationships, community, and friendships, hopes and dreams. But Venus in the 7th until October 17th can also be great for dating, for getting along, experiencing more passion in relationships. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, so pick up my Exalted Venus candle in order to balance that energy, because she might suggest that you're dealing with a little bit of like power struggles in relationships, trust issues, things like that might be coming up for you. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius. Your 8th house will be here until November 11th. This could be a blessing to your partner's resources. A partner gets a bonus, or they get a raise, or they just treat you and give you gifts. It could also be an opportunity to get sort of take care of your debts, take care of your finances, even collaborate with someone where together you're creating a brand new project, a brand new thing that you wouldn't have been able to do on your own. So great time to reach out and ask people for help and, you know, pull your resources together. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com or pick up a horoscope subscription to receive monthly horoscopes sent to you at the start of every month. Both of those are on my website. So is my 2025 planner. I'm super excited about it. Definitely pick it up. Moving on to the lovely Gemini rising. In September, you dealt with the questions around home, family, living situation. Maybe had to address some questions involving children, you know, dealing with the kids' school. My Gemini rising friend had her son catch lice for the first time. So there was definitely some action involving family, children. Venus was in your 5th house in September, which could have also encouraged relationships, right? Maybe potentially like dates. Maybe you've gone on dates. Maybe you've explored some passions. Mars in Cancer could have encouraged financial action, more competition, more entrepreneurship. Maybe a little bit of tension around money and conflicts around money and resources with people in your life. Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 8th house, encouraging final revision of your engagements with other people. So money, agreements, a need to pay things off, a need to separate from a dynamic that isn't healthy for you. And then we had the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 10th house, which highlighted your house of career and asked you whether what you're doing right now is soulful and fulfilling and authentic. And if that wasn't, you could have quit your job potentially, or you could have started asking yourself what is, right? The eclipse in the 10th house is a big deal. In October, Mars spends the entire month in Cancer, your 2nd house. So this is still good for making money, for getting in touch with your soul's desires, and maybe even using some of your energy to volunteer, to help people in need, to connect with people who are vulnerable. Still a bit of a possibility of tensions involving money and values. Just watch out that you're be careful and try to express things directly instead of being passive aggressive about it. Between October 9th, 2024 and February 4th, 2025, Jupiter will be retrograde in Gemini, which is your 1st house, which is a sign of an inner introspection, very like introspective period. Jupiter entered Gemini on May 25th, and you may have noticed new beginnings being introduced in your life. A desire to teach, a desire to impact other people, a multitude of projects. Gemini is not good at narrowing things down sometimes. So when Jupiter goes retrograde, you get an opportunity to parse through them, to analyze what is worth keeping, which projects are fun and have long-term potential versus which ones are maybe difficult and just draining for you. It might also be the time when things are a little bit slower outwardly but busier inwardly, because you're asking yourself, what is it that drives you, gets you excited, and sort of, you know, what really can you spend your time on, because chances are there's a lot going on and maybe your time is pretty limited. Your house of children, pleasure, and romance is active all month. We get the solar eclipse in Libra here on October 2nd, which is a sign of big new beginnings in the realm of children, pleasure, romance. And so, you know, it's new beginnings, but the new beginnings are of the spiritual kind, because it's a South Node eclipse, and South Node in astrology is all about release, cleansing, letting go, detaching. So the new beginnings here might involve letting go of a bad habit. Maybe quitting Diet Coke because you realize that it's not good for you. Maybe it has to do with a relationship change where you open yourself up to dating someone who is good for your soul, but not immediately attractive to you, right? Maybe there is some kind of shift in the life of your child. Take a look back at last October, when we had the first solar eclipse in Libra, and also the spring, March, April, what was happening in the realm of romance, pleasure, children. It can also indicate that your interests are changing, that something that you used to like no longer feels fun, and maybe your interests now include spiritual pursuits and astrology and Reiki and some kind of healing modalities. There is a bit of tension between Mars in your second house, Pluto in your eighth, and planets in Libra, suggesting that these like shifting interests are at odds with the resources or the money you have right now, or even your need to work really hard. And so the helpful energy, I think, is the full moon we get in Aries, your 11th house, on October 17th, because we have a T-square, which is 3 cardinal signs, Libra, Cancer, and Pluto. Sorry, Libra, Cancer, and Capricorn represented. That's not the order. It's going to be Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. But Aries is missing. So when we get that full moon in Aries, it's like the final cardinal sign that we need to figure out the answers to some of those problems. And so the full moon in Aries brings attention to your friendships. It brings attention to your community. And so I think if you're feeling confused and if you're asking all these questions about money, the full moon in Aries invites you to ask, like, what is it that you have to offer, and maybe remove the element of doubt out of it and think, what are you gifted with? Because Aries is very much about self and self-understanding. Like, what talents do you have that can be best suited to help your community? The full moon in Aries on October 17th can also be about changes in friendships, some type of conflict you were in with a friend that gets resolved, or a partnership that you started with a friend gets completed. There may be some kind of project that you're finishing, especially if we're talking about social media, guiding other people, sharing your knowledge with other people. I like that the full moon conjoins Chiron, so it has a very like healing, you got this, you can do it energy. So there is that opportunity to like publish your work, make a relationship with a friend better, explore your dreams, and connect with your true self for sure. Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join later in the month. And so there's also a lot of action in your 6th house of work, health, and service. So you might notice feeling like you need to schedule more doctor's appointments. Maybe you're decluttering, getting rid of stuff. Maybe you're selling some things that you don't need anymore. Venus in Scorpio forms a grand water trine with Mars in your 2nd and Saturn in your 10th. So it feels like quite a rewarding time at work right now, with a possibility of a financial bonus or some kind of a reward for the work that you've been doing. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius, your 7th house, and until November 11th, she will be blessing your relationship sector. So for all singles, this is a great time to go and date. If you're in a relationship, you may notice more harmony, more accord, more ease in your connection. It's also a great time for partnerships, for business negotiations, and for finding clients if that is what you're looking to do. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for a personal consultation and you want to know more about your natal chart, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. On my website, you can also pick up a horoscope subscription, which will include more specifics. It's tailored to your natal chart. I overlay the transits over your chart and send you a detailed written breakdown at the start of every month. I'm like, words are hard. So find that on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are the lovely Cancer rising, September brought a lot of potentially a busier schedule, more messages, more phone calls, more places to go with planets in Virgo. You also could have been asking questions about home and family with Venus, the Sun, Mercury in Libra, wondering where you see yourself living, where you want to be, and who family is for you, or what comfort is for you. Mars entered Cancer, your 1st house, which encouraged more personal action, exercise, but maybe also created an element of friction in your life, some conflicts, or maybe even A friend of mine got sick, so sometimes Mars entering Cancer, the sign of its fall, could suggest that you're like pushing extra hard and then your immune system pushes against you. This energy continues all of October as Mars stays in Cancer, your first house. So definitely try to listen to your energy and avoid pushing yourself too hard. It is likely with Mars in the first house for the next month, you're likely to be very busy, but you cannot, you only have that much energy and that big of a reserves. In September, also Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 7th house, encouraging final relationship changes and adjustments. And the lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th, your 9th house, highlighted the sector of education, travel, writing, publishing, and legal matters, encouraging some sort of deep change in that area. It could have been the time when you let go of a pursuit, where you completed a legal matter, or maybe you committed to something that involves travel, education, and writing or publishing. So in October, like I said, Mars is in Cancer all month. Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 12th house, which could be a time of introspection. This retrograde begins on October 9th and lasts until February 4th. 12th house is a place of spirituality. It's the place of mental health. It's the place of escaping and going far away. So when Jupiter is retrograde, things slow down a little bit, right? Like if you've been planning to move or go on a trip, Jupiter retrograde might slow it down and suggest that you need to handle some things first. It might also be a time of deep spiritual inquiry and a sense of reevaluating what's important to you and asking yourself, like, what is it that you prioritize in life? What is it that you value? Also, like, maybe changes around spiritual practices and like doing things like yoga, meditation, like finding things that make you feel more at ease with yourself. The focus on your house of home, family, and living situation continues with Mercury and the Sun in Libra until October 22nd. We also have the final solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, which is a completion of the chapter that got started in your house of home and family. Like it's a completion, but it's also a new beginning. Basically, from July last year, 2023, South Node has been in your 4th house and North Node has been in your 10th house. And so October is important for both of those houses because on the 2nd of the month we get the solar eclipse in the 4th, and then on the 17th we get a full moon in the 10th. So with the South Node in your 4th house since July last year, you could have experienced a sense of reorientation in your home and family. South Node is very spiritual. South Node wants to cleanse. South Node wants to let go. So this eclipse on the 2nd is another opportunity to examine that area. And we've had an eclipse last year in October, and we had another one in April this year. And so you are examining what doesn't serve you anymore. There might be opportunities to let go of a home, to move, to consider relocating, to examine your dynamics with your family and maybe have some honest conversations, especially if you feel like people in your life are holding you back, if they're somehow stifling your growth, right? It can also be a very spiritual time, a time of releasing old wounds and processing the pain of the past. It's interesting because the eclipse and then later in the month, Mercury and the Sun both square Mars and Pluto, creating a sense of tension between your 1st house of identity and your personal goals, your demands of your family, and the responsibilities or the power struggles in your relationship. And so the full moon in Aries comes around on October 17th, bringing attention to your house of career, status, and reputation, and encouraging you to be selfish for a minute. It's encouraging you to get in touch with what makes you happy, with what you desire, with who you see yourself as, and perhaps operate out of that perspective. And maybe even be a little bit more reckless, a little bit more brave to just go for things. Because when we have, you're a cardinal sign as a Cancer, when we have all this tense cardinal energy, Libra planets, Libra eclipse, Cancer, Capricorn, all of this just creates a lot of like push and pull and indecision. And so the full moon in Aries on October 17th could bring a chance to take a leap professionally. It could be a chance to close a chapter and quit a job, or find a new job, or make, sort of take a leap and start a business. It has an element of healing to it as it conjoins Chiron. And it also potentially culminates the chapter that got started with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So it could be very significant for your professional life, for sure. And please share, how do you think this has already been manifesting, and have you been noticing it? Until October 17th, Venus is in Scorpio, your 5th house. Mercury and the Sun join in as well. And that suggests that you're maybe dating more. You're maybe feeling more passionate, more attractive, more magnetic. You may be going on more dates, having more sex, spending more time with kids, or getting in touch with your inner child and exploring interests, passion projects, going dancing, learning new languages, because Venus will form a grand water trine with Mars in the 1st and Saturn in the 9th. So that could be quite lovely. Venus in Scorpio is in her detriment. I would highly recommend my Exalted Venus candle to help counteract some of the maybe suspicious energy that is represented by Venus and Scorpio, because you may run into like obsessive thoughts, power struggles, like I said, trust issues and things like that. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius, your 6th house of work, health, and service. Will stay here until November 11th. And this will encourage you to enjoy your work a little bit more, to maybe bring flowers to put flowers on your desk, or declutter your space, or clean things out, but do so in a playful way, maybe by listening to a podcast and learning a foreign language while you do it. It can also be a blessing for your professional relationships. There may be more places to go, more get-togethers with your colleagues, and also a sense of more awareness when it comes to your health. Maybe you're making doctor's appointments, or you're rethinking your diet, starting to exercise and things like that. If you're looking for a personal touch, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, or pick up a horoscope subscription so I can send you a personalized horoscope reading at the start of every month. It is unique to you because in this general horoscope, we just touch on the most important transits. And of course, each person is unique, and Saturn might be activating something in your chart that we wouldn't talk about in the general reading. So definitely check out my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and pick up one of these, my 2025 astrology planner. I poured a lot of love into it, and you will find it awesome, just as I do. If you are the lovely Leo rising, September brought a lot of focus to your house of money and values, with Mercury, the Sun in Virgo, your 2nd house. Venus, the Sun, and Mercury in your 3rd house in Libra highlighted communication projects. You maybe spoke more, you maybe acted as a diplomat and navigated more challenging situations, worked on your business, explored new skills, taken exams. Mars entered Cancer, your 12th house, encouraging you to work alone, deal with your mental health questions, let go of some self-defeating tendencies. Mars continues to stay in Cancer, your 12th house, the entirety of October, so that energy continues. Watch out for being passive aggressive, because Mars is in its fall in Cancer, and it might suggest that you are like either being really hard on yourself or not expressing frustration, trying to keep the peace at all costs, and then it's going to cost you. Pluto also went back into Capricorn, your 6th house, in September. And so throughout September and October, your putting finishing touches on work and health related matters, maybe making some doctor's appointments, finishing some storylines that got started in your life in 2008, and also discovering your power when it comes to work and your relationships with colleagues. Finally, the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 8th house, on September 17th brought change to your realm of debts, loans, taxes, shared resources. You may have completed paying off a debt, came up with a financial strategy, or joined a bank account with your significant other, maybe experienced some other kind of change in your relationship dynamic and around the way you share resources and relate to your partner. In October, there's a lot of focus on your 3rd house of communication, skills, hobbies, business, writing, siblings, and neighbors, with Mercury and the Sun in Libra. We get the solar eclipse here on October 2nd, which represents big new beginnings around your business, around your skills. It's a South Node eclipse, and South Node eclipses have the energy of release, letting go, more spiritual focus rather than material focus. So you may notice some kind of transformation in the way you speak. You may notice a change in the thought pattern where maybe you used to believe that you needed to know 100% and have everything lined up before you start a business, but maybe this eclipse is encouraging you to do it while scared and while not having everything figured out. There might be some kind of a new beginning in the life of the sibling or in your relationship with the sibling. You're maybe starting a writing project or going back to school. Something in your everyday life is transforming. And this is not the first eclipse in Libra, right? Like, we've had an eclipse in Libra in October last year, which was also a new beginning. And then we had one in April, I believe, this year. So look back at October, March, April this year and see how has your relationship with your siblings changed? How has your schedule changed? Have you noticed some kind of transformation in your everyday life? Maybe you let go of a need to please others. Maybe you let go of the need to fit in the other people's expectations, right? What's interesting is on October 17th, we then get the opposite energy with the full moon in Aries, which is all about, I feel like after the eclipse on October 2nd, you've had a chance to let go of those like unhealthy patterns and types of thought. And then the full moon in Aries, your 9th house, brings attention to the house of the big picture, the house of the big mind, and big goals and beliefs and philosophies. And I think it's asking you, what is your message to the world? What is it that you want to share? What is it that you want to be known for, right? Maybe the full moon in Aries, maybe it suggests that it's time you bring out your old writing project and give it another try. Or it also represents like an attitude shift, because the eclipse in the 3rd house is the small mind. The full moon in the 9th house is like the big mind. It can also bring changes involving travel. You decide to relocate, education, you graduate or you start school, legal matters, finishing a legal issue, beliefs, philosophies. So it's both like tangible but also highly spiritual. It conjoins Chiron. So it has a healing energy too. I think with Aries, it's like an encouragement to be selfish and to take care of yourself, and maybe like understanding that it's okay to prioritize yourself when the time is asking you to. On October 9th, Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 11th house, which might encourage some revision of friendships, might suggest that some of your projects have gotten out of control and you need to narrow it down. You need to bring the focus back to what's important. Same goes for friendships. Maybe even rethinking your role and your involvement with the community, and maybe figuring out ways to get more sort of connected to people in your life, or to disconnect from social media or from some social engagements that are quite draining. This retrograde lasts until February 4th. There's also a lot of action this month in your house of home, family, and living situation. Venus is hanging in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join a little later. So this is supportive for harmonious relationships with family. Maybe home improvement projects, maybe romantic dates in the home. You may also notice some kind of better dynamics with a family that involve money, maybe a support from a family member, or like if a family member lend you money, maybe they tell you you don't have to pay them back anytime soon, because Venus in Scorpio forms a grand water trine with Mars in the 12th and Saturn in the 8th early in the month, and that is quite a beautiful energy. Venus then enters Sagittarius on October 17th, your 5th house, which is Venus in her joy, very playful, very fun, expect to go out more, you're invited on more dates, you're having fun, going out dancing with your friends, spending time with kids, or feeling more childlike, more adventurous, more playful. This is a really beautiful transit to look forward to. Please share how this resonates. What was your September like? How is the eclipse season treating you? I don't know why I'm struggling to speak right now. And if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com or pick up a horoscope subscription to look at the month coming up for you specifically. My subscribers get monthly horoscopes written down and emailed to them at the start of every month. On my website, you can also pick up my 2025 astrology planner. I think this one is even more beautiful than the first one. I love this. I love this blue color and the way it feels. So soft. Definitely check it out and get one for yourself, or get one as a gift for a family member or a friend. For the lovely Virgo rising, in September, there was a lot of focus on your health, your image, your personal projects, as we had Mercury and the Sun in Virgo. Venus, the Sun, and Mercury in Libra, your 2nd house, highlighted matters involving money and values. You maybe made some investments, got rewarded, got a payment for something. Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 5th house, encouraging final adjustments to your relationship with your children, maybe more empowerment in your relationships, an opportunity to speak up, an opportunity to kick the bad habits to the curb or re-examine your relationship to sex and pleasure. We had the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 7th house, on September 17th, which could have brought major changes in relationships. I know a Virgo rising who got married. You could have gotten married, you could have gotten divorced, you could have gotten engaged, right? You could have started a business, you could have signed a contract you've been really excited about. It would have been a completion of a chapter, but a completion that brings more new beginnings. Finally, Mars entered Cancer, your 11th house, and has been in Cancer the entirety of September and will stay in Cancer all throughout October. And this could have brought up group projects, opportunities to volunteer, to lead other people, to give back. And so, like I said, this continues in October. You're still very much involved with other people. You are focused on helping others, potentially those vulnerable, people in need. Watch out for a little bit of like tension with people you're working with. Mars in Cancer doesn't like to fight, but sometimes you kind of have to. So the tendency might be to be passive aggressive or to push through frustration. So it's best to address things as they come and try not to hide the frustration, but express it with patience and kindness, and do it in a timely manner, because otherwise it will slap you over the head and make you feel more frustrated. You may notice some slowdown in your career house as Jupiter goes retrograde on October 9th. It will be retrograde until February 4th, 2025. And this represents a couple of things. There might be a literal need to redo some of the projects. You've been moving forward, handling a bunch of things, and now you need to redo it. Maybe some of the projects you've been doing no longer feel exciting, and so you need to rethink how to spend your time and which ones to let go of. And 10th house also represents a sense of your public life, and Jupiter represents a sense of satisfaction. So when Jupiter is retrograde, you're asking whether your work brings you satisfaction, whether it brings you fulfillment, or if you feel stagnant, what do you need to change? What do you need to improve, right? So some important questions for you there. The entire month, there's a lot of focus on your finances and values, and that is very much along the lines with Jupiter retrograde. But we have Mercury and the Sun in Libra until October 22nd. And there is a solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. It's a south node solar eclipse, so it's about new beginnings, but new beginnings of a spiritual kind. So once again, I'm thinking of priorities and values, right? So new beginnings in the house of money and values could be a new job that maybe doesn't pay as much as you would have loved it to, but maybe it creates a sense of happiness within. Maybe you're letting go of a debt. Maybe you're letting go of some kind of involvement with other people. Libra is all about relationships, right? Like, so having Libra in your second house, you may be very generous with other people. You may be sort of taking care of the tab and paying for things. And so the new moon solar eclipse in Libra might encourage you to examine these dynamics around money, around debts and bills, and figure out a better solution. Mercury and the Sun will form a T-square with Mars in your 11th house and Pluto in your 5th, creating a sense of tension between what you would rather spend on, your romantic relationship or the needs of your child or your creative child, and the demands that your friends have on you, or maybe like expectations of friends. And I think the solution to me comes with the full moon in Aries on October 17th, which brings focus to you and what is it that is truly important to you when you get to silence the voices of other people. And so the full moon in Aries allows you an opportunity to speak up and kind of assert yourself in the dynamics with other people. 8th house is the place of other people's resources, but Aries is a very self-driven sign. So I think the full moon on October 17th is kind of like getting you more in touch with yourself and getting you more clear on what is it that you would agree with and what is it that you wouldn't agree with. So the full moon on the 8th could give you a chance to pay off a debt, to have a serious conversation with a friend about something that doesn't work for you, to maybe kind of even wrap up some kind of partnership if you feel like it doesn't serve you, or maybe reestablish the rules of a partnership, right? Like, once again, some kind of like, there's a need for honest conversation and a sense of change in the house of money and in your relationships with other people. I like that this full moon conjoins Chiron, so it definitely has very strong healing energy to it. All month long, there is action in your 3rd house with Venus and Scorpio, Mercury, the Sun in Scorpio. So here you are likely to feel inspired. You may be exploring new ideas. Maybe you're writing more. Maybe you're hanging out with siblings, going out in your neighborhood, getting more texts, more messages. Your schedule might feel busy. And there might be actually some romantic opportunities if you're single to meet someone in a local coffee shop or to meet someone at a friend's house party. Very inspired, potentially romantic energy. I like that Venus in your 3rd house will form a grand water trine with Mars in the 11th and Saturn in the 7th. So feels like a beautiful time to either take your skills to the next level and start a project that involves writing, social media, communication and community, or an opportunity to find the support of other people, connect with other people in a romantic or professional type of way to build your community somehow. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius. Your 4th house will stay here until November 11th. And this is the time when you are feeling a bit more nostalgic, a bit more interested in spending time with family. If your family lives in a different state, you might find yourself scheduling a trip, booking tickets to see them. At this point, Thanksgiving is getting closer and closer. Romance might be also happening in your home, and you may find yourself interested in improving your living situation, redesigning, redecorating, painting, bringing flowers in, etc. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. You can also pick up a horoscope subscription and get a monthly horoscope sent to you at the start of every month, as well as weekly updates sent to you every week. I also highly recommend my website for the Exalted Venus candle. Saturn has been in Pisces, your 7th house of relationships, and it's not the easiest energy. And so Venus being there can help soften relationship disagreements and make relationships feel more fun and not just difficult. If you are a Libra rising, September brought a lot of focus to your inner world as you retreated, maybe addressed some mental health issues, some anxieties with planets in Virgo. Venus, the Sun, and Mercury in Libra highlighted your health, your body, your style, your image. You may have, while you were dealing with some introspective and internal issues, you may have still been quite visible, quite active, and quite involved. Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 4th house, encouraging some final adjustments in the home and family, a chance to move, a chance to strengthen boundaries with family, a chance to clear some kind of childhood wound potentially. At the same time as Mars entered Cancer, your 10th house, highlighting and sort of invigorating you to take professional action. We also had the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 6th house, which happened on September 17th and potentially revealed where you need better boundaries with work and maybe encouraged you to let go of some things and prioritize your health. It could have suggested a health issue completing and some type of transformation around your body, work, and service to other people. So in October, Mars spends the entire month in Cancer, your 10th house. You still have energy to tackle work matters. Granted, Mars is in its fall in Cancer, so the energy might be inconsistent. I highly recommend my Mars Kazemi candle for October, and even later in January, Mars will be retrograde in Cancer, so you're going to need this. But, just watch out with this transit for energetic ups and downs. Watch out for professional conflicts. You may be dealing with people who are a little bit passive aggressive or people that don't know how to process their own emotions, and so it backfires and affects you. On October 9th, Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 9th house, and until February 4th, you may find yourself asking some deep questions about your purpose. You may be questioning your beliefs, your guiding principles when it comes to what you eat, and when it comes to your religion or philosophy. You're maybe, Jupiter has entered your 9th house on May 25th, 2024, and you could have gotten really excited about traveling, about studying, about teaching, about learning new things or getting involved in some kind of legal arrangement. And when Jupiter goes retrograde, some of those projects may fall off. Some of those pursuits may feel less exciting, so you will be encouraged to sort of dial it down and, prioritize things that are soulful versus things that are not. The focus on your 1st house of health, body, identity, image continues until October 22nd with Mercury and the Sun in Libra. And we get the final solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. This is a time of new beginnings, but new beginnings of a spiritual kind. It's almost like new beginnings that come after you have purged or went on a diet, got rid of everything in your home that doesn't serve you anymore, got rid of everything in your body that doesn't serve you anymore. So the solar eclipse can be very much about, your health and committing to taking better care of your body, letting go of a bad habit. It could be about choosing a new profession for yourself. I will be in Nepal in October studying yoga. I'm not giving up on astrology because it's one of my true loves in my life, but I'm definitely experiencing a lot more understanding of the importance of tending to my body, to my mind as one, of the need to take care of my mental health and how it affects my body. So as a Libra rising, this is my experience, but I'm curious if you have noticed any big changes in terms of your identity and health since South Node first entered Libra, which would have been July 2023. And this eclipse is like a final kind of culmination in that sector of your chart. In October, we also have a lot of tension between the Sun and Mercury in your house of identity and the goals that you have, as well as Mars in your house of career and Pluto in your house of home and family. So you may feel sort of torn and pulled in a bunch of directions, trying to balance what you want with what your family expects of you and what's happening with your house maybe and your career and your boss's expectations. So the full moon in Aries on October 17th brings attention to your goals, and it has a very healing energy, and it provides that anchor point for the T-square between Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and almost like provides an answer and an invitation for you to be a little bit selfish. But it's interesting because it's also a full moon in the house of relationships, so it might suggest that you are being selfish in a partnership, right? Like just like selfish together with your partner. Like maybe you're deciding to get away and go focus on your relationship for the time being. It could bring an important transformation in an existing relationship, like an engagement, a marriage. If the relationship is draining, if your partnership is contributing to you feeling stressed, it might also be the turning point and a chance to let it go or transform it to become better, right? Look back at what was happening in your love life in April when we had the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th, because this full moon builds up on that. And even more so, she builds up on the first ever eclipse in Aries in April 2023. So something needs to change around the way you deal with other people, around the way you deal with relationships, around the way you try to accommodate other people. I think it's a big month for Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, and Aries risings because there's just so much going on in those four signs. So it's gonna be a big one for you. I like that full moon in Aries conjoins Chiron, so it has a beautiful healing, tender, loving energy. Venus is in Scorpio, your second house of money and values, until October 17th. She's later joined by Mercury and the Sun. She makes a beautiful grand water trine to Mars in the 10th and Saturn in the 6th. So I think this month might bring you exciting financial opportunities, maybe a chance to pay off some debts or set some money aside, spend money on beauty, spend money on things that you really enjoy doing. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, which might suggest that you're a little bit more suspicious, a little bit more paranoid, a little bit more obsessive. So definitely light up my Venus and Libra 2 candle. Pick one up at anastasiadoesastrology.com. This is the choice for you guys, and it has a much more mellow, calming, relaxed, go with the flow energy. Very, very chill compared to Venus and Scorpio. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius. Will stay here until November 11th. Venus in Sagittarius is playful, optimistic. She's a lot more adventurous and calm. It's a big shift from the Scorpio Venus to Sagittarius because we sort of ease up our intensity on some level, right? With Venus in the third house, you may notice that you want to go out more, that you want to hang out with siblings, that you're more willing to write or to make videos, to create content, to express your ideas, and you're just more like fun-loving, I think. So it's an exciting shift that will happen around the full moon in Aries. Once again, right? The full moon in Aries, fire, independence. Venus in Sagittarius, fire, independence. So something is changing, something important is changing this month. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about your year coming up, your natal chart, your relationship. You can also get a horoscope subscription on there to get monthly horoscopes sent to you at the start of every month, and they're very detailed and hold so much more than is possible to get into in this general reading. For the lovely Scorpio rising, September brought a lot of focus to your friendships and networks and maybe your involvement with your community with Virgo planets. We've had a lot of activation in Libra, the Libra sector of your chart, your 12th house, which could have encouraged a desire to retreat, desire to connect with something beyond what meets the eye, explore spirituality, also heal some kind of wounds involving relationships. Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 3rd house, highlighting the need to say what needs to be said and maybe deal with some kind of power dynamics with siblings, neighbors, extended family, in your business, and like communication schedule matters that are dragging you down. And the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 5th house, brought change and sort of major attention to relationships, to questions of parenthood. I know a few of you are pregnant right now. Probably more of you are not, but for those that are pregnant, the lunar eclipse in the 5th house could have been about giving birth or getting closer to giving birth, some kind of realization that, hey, it's actually happening. And, maybe romantic changes, maybe changes to creative projects, maybe just sort of some kind of transformation around fun, like letting go of bad habits or bringing more joy into your life. Finally, Mars also entered Cancer in September, your 9th house, energizing you to learn, to grow, to travel, to maybe deal with some kind of legal matters that potentially involve home, family, or some kind of nostalgic topics for you. Mars stays in Cancer, your 9th house, all month in October. So you're still, whatever got started in September, if you started learning about, let's say, therapy and how to better navigate family dynamics, or you started learning about being a parent, you're continuing on that. Watch out for power struggles and sort of ideological debates, because 9th house is the place of faith, religion, and you may get involved in some kind of heated political debates. And also your energy levels might be up and down. Mars is your chart ruler and he's in his fall in Cancer. That's why I highly recommend for all Scorpio risings my Mars Kazemi candle. Captures Mars and Scorpio, conjunct the sun, your buddy, your ruler, and can be perfect for making your energy levels more even and helping you navigate conflict and strife. Jupiter goes retrograde in October, on October 9th, and will be retrograde until February 4th. It's retrograde in your 8th house, which might suggest that if you've been involved with someone, if you've been like talking about starting a project with them, Jupiter retrograde might suggest that you're taking a step back. If you've been dealing with some kind of insurance matters, paying off a debt, saving for something, Jupiter retrograde might once again suggest some type of you're taking a step back because you're reconsidering or you're asking yourself some important questions. Jupiter retrograde is very philosophical. So when it's direct, since May 25, 2024, it's been direct in your 8th house, and you maybe started partnerships, signed contracts, joined your resources with other people. And when it's retrograde, you are looking more closely at all the things you have done and basically investing in those that are exciting and maybe letting go of those that are not. But asking yourself, what is the goal here? Does it serve my desires? Does it serve the purpose that I'm working on or not? It could also be a very healing energy. The entire month, well, not the entire month, but until October 22nd, Mercury and the Sun are highlighting your 12th house of spirituality, mental health, escaping, healing. And we're going to have the final solar eclipse in Libra here on October 2nd, which is the time of big new beginnings, but also endings, because by nature, 12th house is the place of endings. And it's a south node eclipse, which is also very spiritual, soulful, and cleansing. So the new beginnings in this house might represent kicking a bad habit, choosing to be more of a friend to yourself, choosing to treat yourself better. There could be, for some of you, maybe you're moving and relocating. For others, maybe you're committing to a spiritual passion. You're committing to astrology or reading tarot or practicing Reiki. Some type of transformation in your life is happening, I think, with this eclipse. And it's, you know, we've had South Node in Libra since July 2023 and North Node in Aries since July 2023. So how has your mental health and your physical health changed? Have you noticed any bad habits? Have you instituted any better practices in your life involving around mental health? There's also, what's interesting is around the same time of the eclipse, we also have a T-square building between Mercury and the Sun in your 12th, Mars in your 9th, and Pluto in your 3rd. So some type of disagreements involving, once again, ideology, tensions with siblings, tensions with family members that are building. And so the South Node eclipse in Libra in your 12th house, I think, is encouraging you to examine, like, where are you being too complacent? Where are you being too flexible and too mindful? And then, of course, we get the full moon in Aries, your 6th house, on October 17th. And that is a very brash, direct, let's just say it energy. So October 17th might bring a sense of like, I've had enough, now I'm going to express my true feelings, right? Other than that, the full moon in Aries, your 6th house, also represents a change in the sector of health, in the sector of work, in the sector of service to others. Some type of, you know, getting over a health issue, finishing a work project, just, you know, speaking your mind, maybe dealing with some kind of conflict at work, problem solving something. The full moon has a healing energy as it conjoins Chiron. So I think it like invites you to embrace what you believe in and maybe assert yourself and maybe like even do so in a vulnerable but honest way. This full moon also completes the chapter that got started with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So look back at what was happening in the area of work, health, service, problem solving in April. What may you be completing right now? I like that Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join her later in the month, and that gives you more charm. You're naturally more magnetic when Venus is in your 1st house. Getting more compliments, getting more opportunities to shine. Maybe you're changing your style, cutting your hair, right? Updating your look somehow. And what's also very nice is that Venus forms a grand water trine early in the month with Mars in the 9th and Saturn in the 5th. So even if there is a lot of tension in other areas of your life, I think there is potentially some good energy around like parenthood, children, pregnancy, things you're learning, like you're feeling committed to your relationships, or you're feeling committed to your connections, the project that you're working on, and just sort of gaining pleasure from those things. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius, will stay here until November 11th. This is your 2nd house of money. So Venus in the 2nd house might inspire you to spend on adventures, spend on travel, spend on beauty. It can also be the time when you're getting financial rewards or bonuses of some sorts. And just, I think, like having a better time or being more interested in like spending money on art and spending money on, well, I already said beauty products, but I think like spa procedures, like treating yourself is quite likely here. Share how this resonates. If you're looking for a personal reading, book one on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. We can talk about your natal chart, year coming up, your relationship, and more. And you can also pick up a horoscope subscription on there to get monthly readings written down and sent to you at the start of every month. It's a lot more in depth because it looks at your unique chart and describes what's coming up for you. On my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, you can also pick up my beautiful and so nice and so pretty and so full of insights, super full of insights and information 2025 planner. It's time. The year is coming to a close. My beautiful Sagittarius rising, in September you focused a lot on work, on your job with the Sun and Mercury in Virgo, your 10th house. Venus, the Sun and Mercury in Libra, your 11th house, also encouraged more networking. You maybe went to more parties, gathered with friends, explored new dreams. Pluto returns to Capricorn, your 2nd house, return to Capricorn, encouraging final adjustments involving money and values, potentially some kind of final conversations about certain things, and an opportunity to change your power dynamics when it comes to that. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th, your 4th house, brought change or a need for change in your home, family, and living situation. Finally, Mars also entered Cancer in September, your 8th house, encouraging you to pay off debts, renegotiate agreements, and speak up if there's no fairness in certain dynamics in your life. This continues throughout October as Mars spends the entire month in Cancer. Watch out for a tendency to be passive aggressive, a tendency to maybe not express frustration until it builds up and fires away and everybody gets burned by it. So try to speak up. On October 9th, a big change happens. Jupiter stations retrograde in Gemini, your 7th house. It will be retrograde until February 4th. And it might suggest a certain pullback, a need to dial down on your relationship action. There might be some kind of a need to rethink what you have accomplished in your relationships. I'm going to ask you a question. What has happened in your romantic life between May 25th and October 9th? If you have been on a lot of dates, if you have rushed into things, Jupiter retrograde might encourage you to narrow down who you're dating and maybe to discuss some things that you rushed into or change some things that you rushed into, right? It might encourage sort of a more spiritual inquiry and deeper questions about philosophical agreement you and your partner have, and maybe make you talk about things that are important that you maybe didn't discuss yet. And for some, Jupiter retrograde in the 7th house might be a sign of someone from your past knocking on your door and coming into your life to make things even more exciting and complicated. The entire month, not the entire month, until October 22nd, there's a lot of focus still on your 11th house, and you're going out, you're connecting with friends, you're exploring new dreams. The biggest event of the month happens in this house on October 2nd with the solar eclipse in Libra. It is a south node eclipse, so it's of a spiritual flavor, and it brings new beginnings that come out of that shifting energy in your life. With the south node in Libra since July 2023, chances are you may have reconsidered what's important to you. You may have rediscovered different values, different goals in your friendships. And so the south node the south node eclipse, solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd might encourage you to start new friendships that are more aligned with who you are and who you have discovered yourself to be. There might be new dreams that are once again of a spiritual kind. Maybe you're dreaming to go away to an ashram and try silent meditation. And so new dreams, new opportunities, also opportunities to let go of the people-pleasing tendencies, of the fears around not being liked. The entire sort of middle of the month, we have a T-square between Libra planets, Mercury and the Sun, Mars in your 8th house, and Pluto in your 2nd house. So there might be some kind of ideological disagreements in your relationships and in your friendships. There may be some kind of financial issues where you are expecting someone to pay you back, or you are somehow delayed by what other people maybe other people maybe people owe you money, and the solar eclipse encourages you to speak up and to assert yourself and to ask for what you deserve. If not early in the month, then potentially definitely by mid-October, when we get the full moon in Aries, your 5th house of romance, pleasure, and children. So the full moon in Aries could represent a turning point in a relationship. Once again, it's a very confident, no BS, I'm gonna speak my mind energy when we get this full moon in Aries. So you are feeling like expressing yourself, you're feeling like making changes to your relationship. It could be a romantic relationship. There might be some kind of culmination of the chapter, romantic or creative, that got started in April with the solar eclipse in Aries. If you've been trying to get pregnant, this could represent getting pregnant. If you've been pregnant, maybe you give birth right around the time of this full moon. There might also be some kind of transformation of a passion project. Let's say you've been learning a lot about rock climbing, and around the time of this full moon, you say, listen, let's just quiet the noise, all these drama with friends or all these financial concerns I'm dealing with. I'm just gonna go and rock climb or be by myself in nature. So the full moon is giving you a chance to connect with yourself. It's also quite healing because it conjoins Chiron, and it reminds you that you cannot tend to other people and you cannot even reach your dreams until you take care of yourself. So it's like very much, okay, dial it back, take care of yourself. Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join her later in the month. This is your 12th house, so you may also notice a strong desire to retreat, to take care of your mental health, to get away with your significant other, to maybe tap into your spirituality, learn more about yoga, astrology, etc. Might also offer you opportunities to heal some relationship wounds and become more aware of where are you being self-defeating. Venus is in her detriment in Scorpio, and so this energy can be intense, a little bit obsessive, paranoid, can struggle with trust and be maybe a little bit more competitive or controlling of the partners. I highly recommend my Venus in Libra 2 candle for you guys. This one was actually created with Sagittarius on the ascendant, and it has Venus in your 11th house, which is a lot more chill, playful, and relaxed. Finally, the good shift happens on October 17th. That is when Venus enters Sagittarius, your first house. And until November 11th, 11/11, you get Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, in your first house, making you more charming, more attractive. Great time to change your look, to improve your style, to invest into your well-being, and ask people for help because they will likely say yes. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. You can also pick up a horoscope subscription on there to receive monthly readings written down and sent to you at the start of every month. For the beautiful Capricorn rising, September brought a lot of focus to your 9th and 3rd houses. We had Sun and Mercury in Virgo. We had a lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 3rd house. So there could have been changes involving legal matters, education, travel, writing. I just realized I'm going to run out of fingers. But changes, involving legal matters, maybe some kind of transformations in your relationships with siblings, even some kind of communication, important conversation, some kind of like important words were exchanged, let's say. Your professional sector has been busy all month as well. Pluto returned to Capricorn on September 1st for 2.5 months, encouraging sort of final opportunities to speak up for yourself, to get empowered, to present the world with a new version of yourself that has changed and grown and gotten more empowered since 2008. And finally, Mars entered Cancer, your 7th house, which could have energized you to date, to commit, to start partnership, but could have also suggested a little bit of friction in there, right? I highly recommend my Mars Cazimi, or even more so Exalted Mars candle for you guys, because Mars in Cancer is in its fall. Can be a bit passive aggressive, can be going through energetic ups and downs, and Mars Cazimi or Exalted Mars are actually strong Mars that is way more consistent and can help you deal with Mars and Cancer energy. As well, it can also help you with the upcoming Mars retrograde, which we will all be talking about in the next couple of months. So in October, Mars stays in Cancer all month. So you're still going out, you're dating, you're maybe fighting for something with your partner, which is a better way of using this energy. Go on active dates, go volunteer with your significant other. Watch out for being too passive aggressive and sort of getting into fights. You might also notice that you're like fighting about your family more at this point in time. So be patient, express feelings, don't let them build, and remember to breathe. Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 6th house, between October 9th and February 4th. And this might be the time when you're slowing down. If you've been noticing that there's been a lot going on, places to go, work matters, projects, people demanding your attention, Jupiter retrograde will offer you a chance to sit down quietly, to maybe let go of some of those engagements, to keep only those that feel helpful and soulful and supportive of yourself, and maybe release those that don't. It can also be the time when you're prioritizing your physical health and like taking care of yourself, and also realizing that your health is maybe connected to the thoughts you're thinking and what's happening in your head. The focus on your professional sector continues all month, most of the month, until October 22nd, when the sun leaves Libra. And we have the final solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. It's a south node eclipse, so it has spiritual energy of like reorientation, emptying, cleansing, rethinking, prioritizing soulful pursuits over material pursuits. We've had South Node in Libra since July 2023. How has your career changed? How has your public life changed? How have your desires changed? So this eclipse, since it's the final eclipse in Libra, is that like final exclamation mark there. So it lets you start something new in your professional life that maybe requires letting go of like hungry ambition, desire for money, right? It maybe encourages you to focus on spiritual pursuits, like doing astrology, being an Akashic Records reader, Reiki practitioner. It may be encouraging you to start a business or to do work that helps and heals others. There is a lot of tension this month, especially from like the first 22 days of the month. There is a lot of tension this month between the Libra, Sun, and Mercury in your 10th house of career and what you're trying to accomplish professionally, Pluto in your 1st house and this sort of like inner transformation you're completing, and Mars in the house of relationships. So you're maybe finding yourself caught between these like 3 tense places, trying to navigate things. Move slowly and lean into self-care. On October 17th, we actually have a full moon in Aries, your 4th house of home, family, and living situation. And this could be your invitation to just say, quiet everyone, I need to take care of myself. I'm going to go spend time at home. I'm going to go connect with family members I love. And just maybe even be more direct about what you need to feel secure. Because the full moon in Aries brings attention to comfort, security, home, family. And because it's Aries, I think it encourages a more straightforward approach. It tells you, just say it how it is. It also has a very healing vibe to it as it conjoins Chiron. So you're maybe healing childhood wounds. You're maybe connecting with family members. You're maybe moving, letting go of an old home. And for some of you, maybe even welcoming a new family member or experiencing some kind of change that is inspired by the change a family member is going through. Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th, highlighting your 11th house of friendships, networks, hopes, and dreams. She also forms a grand water trine with Mars in the 7th house of relationships and Saturn in the 3rd. So this is beautiful energy for dating a friend, for starting a partnership with a friend, for starting a partnership with your significant other. This suggests that you're more visible, you're going out, you have places to go, people to see, you're networking, you're shining in the social context. And this is exciting. Venus, however, is in detriment in Scorpio, so you may notice a little bit more jealousy, either towards your friends or friends towards you. There may be some paranoid, obsessive thoughts. I highly recommend my Exalted Venus candle to help with this energy, to make this transit less difficult, more joyful. On October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius. Your 12th house will be here until November 11th. This is Venus in a hidden part of your chart, which might encourage you to get away. It's a great time to get away, go on a romantic trip, escape with your partner, right? Don't escape in the subterranean unhealthy behaviors. You may be dating someone in private. Maybe there's a new romance that's starting, but you don't feel like sharing about it, screaming about it to the world yet. Watch out for the more challenging manifestation of this, and that is dating someone who is toxic, who's unhealthy, who is obviously bad for you. On the positive, Venus and Sagittarius can connect you with someone spiritual, someone maybe a little bit more introverted, but kind of emotionally aware, foreign, a teacher, someone fun and, eye-opening for you. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for personal guidance, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to look at your natal chart, talk about your year coming up and more. On my website, you can also pick up this beautiful, I'm in love with it, astrology planner for 2025. Just look at it. Just look at it. Just look how pretty. And you can pick up a horoscope subscription too, to get monthly horoscopes sent to you at the start of every month. Bye, Capricorn. If you are an Aquarius rising, September brought a lot of focus to the topics of money. We had the Sun and Mercury in Virgo, your 8th house. We had a lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 2nd house, on September 17th. So you maybe had to examine your debts, your dependencies on other people. You maybe had to implement some better financial protocols, started an IRA, paid off a debt, like disengaged from some unhealthy dynamic, discussed questions of fairness, completed some kind of payment for something, or got a payment for something. Venus, the Sun, and Mercury in Libra, your 9th house, also encouraged action in the house of education, travel. You could have gone on more trips, taken some classes, wrote, studied, taught. Pluto returned to Capricorn, your 12th house, for the final 2 months, stays in Capricorn, goes direct in October. So there's some final adjustments you need to make to your mental health, to your spiritual pursuits, to your imaginative projects, and maybe your desire to escape. Like if you relocated since 2008, for example, there might be some kind of like final legal matters you have to handle. Mars entered Cancer, your 6th house, which on one hand could have given you energy to tackle projects. On the other hand, could have created a little bit more frustration and like passive-aggressive behavior coming from colleagues, or you feeling a little bit frustrated and passive-aggressive. You continue to deal with that energy all throughout October. Mars is in Cancer until early November. So try to listen to your body and maximize the times you're feeling energetic, and maybe use this energy to speak up on behalf of people in need, sick, elderly, underprivileged people. But like I said, once again, watch out for pushing yourself too hard, because you might end up getting sick. Watch out for being passive-aggressive, getting in fights with people. I highly recommend my Mars Kazemi candle. It's Mars in rulership, and it falls in your house of career. So it can help you find the energy needed to attack professional matters, to assert yourself, and have a more consistent energy level, more consistent energy levels. On October 9th, Jupiter goes retrograde in Gemini, your 5th house. This could suggest, so Jupiter went into Gemini on May 25th, and it could have brought some kind of like rapid, exciting action involving love, involving children and parenthood. You sign up your child for 15 different extracurricular activities. in the realm of fun as well. You may have signed yourself up for 15 extracurricular activities. And so when Jupiter goes retrograde between October 9th and February 4th, you are dialing it back. If you have rushed into a romantic thing, Jupiter retrograde might encourage you to take a step back, to rethink, or at the very least discuss things that you have done or jumped into and figure out better protocols, right? You may narrow it down, and instead of doing 15 activities, you start doing 5. You may be also dealing with an ex coming back into your life, or addressing a lack of inspiration, trying to figure out some kind of spiritual, soulful interest. And I think that is helped with the fact that there's a lot of focus until October 22nd on your 9th house of education, travel, writing, belief, philosophy, very Jupiterian place. You are, the sun is here until October 22nd, Mercury is here until October 13th, and we have the final solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And it's a South Node eclipse, so it's very spiritual. It is very soulful. It is about letting go of old beliefs, welcoming new beliefs, right? It is about letting go of a need to please other people, to play a certain part, to wear a mask. And so the solar eclipse in Libra, on some level, is a culmination of the cycle we have been in since July 2023, when the nodes shifted in Libra and Aries. And it's interesting, how has your life changed, right? Like, were there any changes around travel, education, writing, publishing, legal matters? Were there any shifts in your mindset and your psyche? Because this eclipse will offer you a chance to solidify those changes, right? Some of the literal transformations, you may be realizing that you want to study something else, that you want to teach. Maybe you've been focusing on, maybe you've been thinking more about money, but now you realize that as long as you have enough, and you don't need to have too much, but as long as you have enough, you can do the work that maybe brings you more joy. There may be some kind of transformation to your career as an astrologer, as a lawyer, as a judge, as a publisher, a writer. If that is what you're doing, I can see, a new idea, a new inspiration potentially. All the while, you're still dealing this month with a T-square between this 9th house of growth and philosophy and your 6th house of everyday work and problems that you sort of have to deal with, or some kind of health issues, and 12th house, which is that spiritual healing you're doing, because there is a T-square between Sun, Mercury in Libra, Sun, Mercury in Libra, and Pluto in your 12th house, and Mars in your 6th house. So there is that T-square. So you may realize that things are maybe taking a little bit longer than you would like them to. I do like that on October 17th, we get the full moon in Aries, your 3rd house, which brings some kind of culmination to the house of communication, siblings, writing, business, skills, community. So a lot, right? But this full moon is part of the ongoing eclipse series, right? On April 8th, we had a solar eclipse in Aries in the same sector. And you may have started fighting for some kind of issue in your community. You may have experienced change in your schedule. You may have started a course of study, or your sibling has undergone a change. So this full moon is both a completion of that, but also I think an opportunity to connect with what you truly want and understand. I think the full moon in Aries is, for you guys specifically, I think it's asking, what would you like your day to look like? Just on that kind of level, bring it down to a very simple question of what do you want your day to look like? What do you want it to include? And then from there, you can figure out what changes you need to make. Maybe you need to declutter your schedule, and maybe you need to get rid of some things that you're working on. Especially if we're thinking of Jupiter retrograding in the 5th, and you're rethinking pleasure and the sun, Mercury, and the eclipse in the 9th house, and you're asking yourself these like big questions. The 3rd house full moon is all about like small steps that you need to take in order to get yourself closer to your vision, I'd say. I feel like it's a little bit like third house just holds so much. So the full moon in the 3rd is like, you know, if I had to sum it up, I think it's definitely like what you want your day to look like. And it's also like which things in your everyday life bring you joy and which ones don't. And how can you get rid of those that don't and commit to those that do. Don't. Venus is in Scorpio, your 10th house, until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join later. Venus forms a grand water trine with Mars in the 6th, Saturn in the 2nd. So there is quite a good energy professionally. You're maybe taking action professionally. You're maybe connecting with bosses, working on projects that are more joyful, that are more creative. And then on October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius, your 11th house. She'll be here until November 11th. And that is a bit more of a social time. You're going out, you're networking, you're going to more parties, you're exploring new dreams, you're maybe becoming more involved on social media or creating more content on social media. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'd be happy to talk about your natal chart, relationship year coming up. You can also pick up a horoscope subscription on there to get monthly horoscopes unique to you, emailed to you at the start of every month. AnastasiaDoesAstrology.com. Last but not least, the beautiful Pisces rising. September brought a lot of focus to your house of relationships and what you desire in relationships, as well as your house of identity with the lunar eclipse in Pisces, your 1st house on September 17th. You had to weigh perhaps your health against your relationship, your goals and your duties against the duties to your relationship. So sort of some balancing needed to happen. We had a lot of action in Libra, your 8th house, which could have encouraged financial action. Maybe you paid off some debts, moved some money around, made an insurance payment, dealt with insurance, right? Dealt with some kind of agreement, joint bank accounts, etc. Pluto went back to Capricorn, your 11th house. And in September, October, it's encouraging you to kind of assert your power in friendships, deal with any power struggles, any issues that are maybe unspoken, figure out who your true friends are, commit to those relationships, release those that are not, and the same goes for your dreams. Finally, Mars entered Cancer, your 5th house, giving you the energy to go out, to date, to have fun, to maybe even work out and exercise. Mars stays in Cancer all months in October, so you're still kind of focused on dating, having fun. Mars is in its fall in Cancer, which might suggest that you are not quite as good at moving your body. 5th house is like the place of like sometimes competition and athletic pursuits, so I would urge you to avoid pushing yourself too hard during this period. Go swimming, do some kind of walking, do more gentle type of exercise instead of like weighting heavy weights. Pick up my Mars Kazemi candle too. This one is empowered Mars in Scorpio. Mars in the sign of rulership conjunct the sun brings courage, discipline, perseverance, persistence, and it's pretty reddish color. And it smells like ginger and spice, so it has like a pretty cool scent to it too. So yeah, watch out for being passive aggressive in relationships. Watch out for pushing yourself too hard, and just try to, of course they're doing some kind of construction right outside of my window right now. So bear with me, be patient, Pisces, we will get through this. On October 9th, Jupiter goes retrograde in your 4th house. It will stay retrograde until February 4th, 2025, suggesting a need for some kind of introspection in the realm of home and family. You're maybe asking, how can you better handle your living situation? You're maybe asking, how can you better deal with family dynamics? How can you not let things get to you as much? You're maybe questioning what is comfort and security. Between May 25th and October 9th, Jupiter has been direct in your 4th house, and it could have encouraged you to travel, to relocate, to move. Maybe you even did that already, because Jupiter in Gemini could be like really excited, just go for it energy. And so now that it's retrograde, you are having to pull back. You're having to rethink some of those choices, slow down on some of the projects, especially if, let's say, you like started a home renovation project. It might slow down during Jupiter retrograde. And I think, you know, like Jupiter retrograde in the 4th house can also be just like a very spiritual time, offering you a chance to heal, release old wounds, examine things that maybe do not serve you. With the Sun and Mercury in Libra until October 22nd, there's also a lot of focus on your 8th house of debts, loans, like I said, insurance payments, your involvements with other people, your dependencies on others or their dependencies on you. And a big change here occurs on October 2nd with the solar eclipse in Libra, the final solar eclipse in Libra. We've been having eclipses since September, October last year in Libra. And you've been potentially, you know, dealing with some kind of financial questions, paying off some bills, dealing with questions of like dealing with relationships with other people, changing dynamics. And so this solar eclipse is the final opportunity to kind of go over that house, pay off any debts you haven't paid, come up with a financial strategy, heal what hasn't been healed, separate from a dynamic that is not healthy. Solar eclipse in Libra is a very spiritual, it's a spiritual eclipse because it conjoins the South Node. And so that spiritual energy also has the energy of like letting things go and examining things and being kind of more honest. You're letting go of people-pleasing tendencies. You're letting go of maybe some kind of dependencies on other people, right? And you are learning to kind of stand on your own 2 feet. I think financially, spiritually, you're trying to be more in charge of yourself, your life, your dynamics with other people. And so this eclipse is quite significant for that. In October, we also have Mercury and the Sun square Mars in your 5th house and square Pluto. They form a T-square with Mars in the 5th and Pluto in your 11th. So there might be some kind of tension between the resources you have, the values your partner has, and your dreams and your kind of pleasure, you know, some kind of disagreement, I think, between like the overall vision and the opinions of other people potentially, or your engagements with other people. And there is an interesting opportunity to get through that and solve things when we get the full moon in Aries, your 2nd house of money and values, on October 17th. The full moon in Aries invites you to be more selfish. It invites you to step away from that maybe dynamic of asking other people for their opinions or caring for what other people think. And it's encouraging you to balance these tensions with some TLC, some time for yourself, right? There might be some kind of financial change where you're paying off a debt, you're starting, you know, maybe you've been thinking about starting an IRA, so you do. You're making a big purchase potentially, but it's like, it's very much like, you know, if things feel confusing and you're focused too much on other people with the Libra season and how to help other people, how to get involved with other people, the full moon in Aries is the time to connect with yourself and get more sort of friendly towards yourself and take care of your goals and your needs. And also speak up about your values, and maybe on some level even like value yourself a little bit more, because it conjoins Chiron, so it has a beautiful healing potential. So the full moon in the 2nd house is also a completion of the chapter that got started with the solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. So take a look at what was happening with your finances in April. And even further, take a look at what has been happening in your finances since April 2023, which is when we had the first solar eclipse in Aries. Because this full moon is not an eclipse, but it's happening right after the eclipse, and it's happening in the house where we've already had eclipses. So I think it's like a testament to the changes you've been through, to both like financial changes you've experienced, but also perhaps a bigger growth of your confidence, or a bigger sense of like, I deserve this, I can be who I want, I love myself. So like, I think it's like, it's okay. It's a sign for you that it's okay to love yourself. It's okay to do things that make you happy. Of course, don't hurt other people in the process. Venus is in Scorpio until October 17th. Mercury and the Sun join her a little bit later, bringing focus to your 9th house of education, travel, writing, legal matters, and publishing. Venus in the 9th can inspire you to get away with your significant other, or go away on a trip and meet someone there. So dating a foreigner, dating someone you met abroad, feeling more inspired to write, feeling more interested in learning things. Maybe you're learning about sex and pleasure and sort of romance and things like that. And then on October 17th, Venus enters Sagittarius, your 10th house, and until November 11th, she will help you have better relationships with bosses. She will also encourage you to take professional action that is more fun, to work for people that are more supportive, to do projects that are more creative. Like Venus in the 10th by transit, or Venus in the 10th natal, is very much the planet that wants to enjoy work, and she's capable of providing that enjoyment, right? So you may notice yourself being more like using some fun fonts, or doing PowerPoint presentations, or decorating your office, or just going out with your boss, or your boss approving of you. So it could be a great time for professional enjoyment. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com, or pick up a horoscope subscription where I send you horoscopes at the start of every month and tell you what's coming up for you. Additionally, pick up my 2025 astrology planner. It is blue, dark blue. It is beautiful. It has 223 pages filled with everything you need. And look at the colors. It has different colors too. Anyways, check it out, and I will see you soon. I hope you have a great month of October. I'll be away, but you will be seeing videos from me because I took 2 months ahead of me going away and filmed a bunch of stuff. So please keep liking, subscribe if you haven't yet, and show me some love by hitting that notification bell or whatever else you'd like to do. Leave me a good comment or something. Anyways, talk to you soon. Bye.